And the good thing with tech is a field that is open to anyone who is self-learner, you know? You can learn by yourself. You cannot learn medicine by yourself. Imagine you learn medicine by yourself. Once you master any technical field, regardless what it is, aviation or otherwise, you can easily jump to another technical field because you are going with the same mindset. You're going to use the same neurons, if you like, the same mindset, the same technique, the same approach to things, and you're going to master it again. That's not a big issue. The guy is just, the guy was escorted out, and I came looking for him, and they told me he was escorted out. Escorted?
Today we have a very interesting guest, Amine Mecifi, the journalist in tech and aviation, books author, former sales engineer, and trainer in cybersecurity. Hi, Amine. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Alex. Nice to see you again, and thank you for having me in your podcast.
Thanks for joining. It's a pleasure always to have a chat with you. Cool. So, how's things? How's life?
Yeah, a lot of work. When I left the tech, you just mentioned that I was working in tech. I left the tech to become, as we say, I don't like the word, but entrepreneur. So I work for myself, but I work even harder than when I was in tech. So I mean, in tech, I was working from Monday to Friday. Now I'm working 7 days a week. But the good news is I can work from anywhere. That's a good thing.
That reminds me an old joke about becoming the entrepreneur, right? So when you leave your regular 9 to 5 and start your journey of an entrepreneur, it's really flexible because you can choose when you are going to work 24/7.
That's absolutely true. It's really hard to put the boundaries between your personal life and between your work. And I find myself working really, really hard. I would say, to be perfectly transparent, I would say I believe that entrepreneurship is not meant for everybody. I don't recommend to people to just go and jump ship and go to become an entrepreneur. Okay, it's good. I'm enjoying my life. Okay. However, you have to be careful because there are some implications, and I feel like sometimes people don't talk about them enough. You see, like the fine print, the disclaimer.
Cool, cool. So you're traveling. Where are you at right now?
So now I am on a ship called the Queen Mary 2. It's a Cunard Queen Mary. It's This ship is an ocean liner. It was built to cross the Atlantic. Usually it does Southampton, New York, but now I'm not crossing the Atlantic at this occasion. We're here moored in. Today we are in which city? Rotterdam. We're in Rotterdam. Okay. I just tried to read, but I don't see the name here. Just I was confused about where I was because I travel a lot these days, and sometimes in the morning you wake up and you hesitate where you are. Where are you really? It happened to me when I was at Trend Micro once to call for a cab to for Amsterdam airport, and the lady on the phone told me, "But you realize you're in Denmark, yeah?"
That would be quite expensive and a long trip.
That would be expensive. That would be hard to justify the bill, But yeah, it happens. So now here I'm in a cabin. Okay, I'm in 12th bridge, quite high, and yeah, it's quite foggy and cold outside at the moment.
Typical Netherlands, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I learned from you is this: look, here I'm traveling. Okay, I'm traveling for work, and you told me one day that it's funny to take a kid toy with you. So the toy would travel, and kids are happy to see their toys traveling.
Oh,
So how we go? You see that? You see, I'm doing it to this day, mate. Yeah, I learned it from you. You see?
why tech and how it developed, how it maybe impacted or changed your life. So tell me about your life journey.
Well, basically, I found myself in tech literally by accident. It wasn't like a plan. I didn't look when I was a kid. It wasn't my dream. Like I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to. grow up and I will become tech engineer. Yeah, I think that's it just happened by accident. Yes, I used to like computers. I loved coding, developing small software, doing some, interesting things, gaming, networking, this kind of stuff. But it was never a dream to go in tech. Basically, here's what happened. I studied aviation, and when I finished studying aviation, we were in September 11. You see? Yeah, 2001. Yeah, for France, 2001. I'm not talking about any September 11th. I'm talking about that one. So basically, the problem was that he couldn't find a job. For many years after 2001, aviation wasn't hiring. So I found myself there, just finishing school, low hours, low everything. You just finish, you have your shiny papers, but you don't have any experience. So nobody wants to hear from you, especially in a market where people with like a lot of hours, senior people, were fired or let go, sometimes in mass, mass layoffs, and they were in competing against us, new training in that market. So what I did, I had to find a job. So what I did, I created my company in the beginning. I created my IT company. I was doing IT services, web hosting mainly, but I went beyond that. So I started with web hosting. It went very successful. Initially, it was really successful. I sometimes had up to 8, 9, 10 orders a day. You see, it was that successful. I used to go take a shower, come back, and find 3 orders to fulfill. It was at the time the demand for that was really crazy. And from that point, I also got big clients, like mainly startups. Startups, hey, we would like to partnership with you. We have a lot of projects going on. Can you help us? Can you help us to create a data center? Can you help us to create a website, etc.? So I started working more with startups than with individual customers. Retrospectively, maybe it was a mistake because smaller customers, I had an army of them. They don't pay a lot, okay, let's be honest, they don't pay a lot. However, literally in terms of time, they cost you nothing. Once you set up the website and you send them a PDF, or if they ask question, you send a KB, and then they can just navigate through the system and do their stuff. However, startups, often they wanted me come to visit, participate to meetings, so they were taking a lot of my time. And over time, what happened, I found myself stuck with like a few big clients. Okay, few big clients, which is really risky situation. And then in a very short time, one of my clients passed away, and his son tried to take over the company, but he failed. Another one just went bankrupt. They received big money from investors, but they went crazy. They like rented a massive building, bigger than what they could afford. They hired too many people in a very short time, and then in a few months they were like, the account were in red. Another customer failing. So you see what happened. So in a very short time, in probably 6 months, 1 year time, I went from having a decent revenue to literally nothing. And at that point, I decided, like, you know what? Let's go to the UK, find a job, find a 9 to 5. So when I went to 9 to 5 job, my idea wasn't to spend my life there. It was just, you need to put food on the table, just jump, find a company, work there, see what happens. And well, yeah, and it lasted 2008, 2022, it lasted 14 years, which was supposed to me, from my perspective, was supposed to last maybe 6 months, 1 year. You see, then I got stuck on the system. And this is when we met. We met at one point at Trend Micro.
Who were your main customers when you were having your hosting? Were it like local French customers in from France, or there was like over the globe?
Yes, French customer mainly, yes, because it was no, they were not global. No, to be honest, no, because I wasn't targeting global. Because that offers challenges I wasn't comfortable with at the time. So, like managing fraud and this kind of things, especially when you are selling web hosting, selling servers, you don't know, you can. It happened to me. I tried at one point. I tried like targeting global customers, but it wasn't easy. Especially, imagine the situation: you give a server to customer base, whether in Asia or whatever, they pay you. Next thing you know, they're spamming, they're using the server to spam, you receive complaints, you get IP addresses that are blacklisted, and next thing you know, PayPal telling you that the account was fraudulent, you receive the payment from, and they are freezing that payment. You see, it's really hard. It's really hard to target customers outside your own market. You can indeed, but it offers a lot of challenges. And at the time, I was mainly concentrating on French speaking markets: Switzerland, France, Belgium, even North Africa, French speaking areas of Canada. Yeah, but mainly I was targeting the French market.
So how was the market itself? How was the tech booming in these days in France?
Yes, it was booming in France and it was booming everywhere. And I tell you, I give you a few examples so you realize. Like, I had many people at the time in the years 2000 paying to get a website with a domain name, and they would put their CV, their photo, and they would share it with employers when they were looking for a job. And then LinkedIn came in, and they could do that and even better without paying. In the years 2000, I made a lot of money from companies calling me and telling me, hey, these days people are having faster and faster internet at home, and we would like to share videos with them. And I was developing website, doing encoding, and it was a nightmare because you receive a video and you have to encode it in I don't know how many different formats, so people can watch it on different browsers, different systems, in fast, slow internet, from a mobile. It was just crazy. And suddenly YouTube came in, Dailymotion at the time, then YouTube, and then they all were gone. They all disappeared. I have people building e-commerce website, and sometimes from scratch. Like, you start with Notepad, you've got a white page, and you start coding. Good morning. Okay, let's go. Put your first command, and good luck. Then now they go to Shopify, they pay subscription and they get everything, including the applications and stuff. I mean, you cannot beat that, actually. You cannot. But at the time, the market was booming, literally. I had even forums, people engaging with each other, a group of interests, creating web forums, and then I was hosting them. Now they go to Facebook, they create a group, and it's free.
Remember, yeah, I do remember the days when we had forums, and now it's all substituted with Reddit or Facebook groups, and that's it. But I remember you had a dedicated forum, for example, for computer modders, or a dedicated forum for some certain online game, and they all discuss only that thing. Plus, they have, if they're from the same country, or they have a group in the same country, they do a regular meetups, when they go and meet each other offline. Yeah, it was a thing, but now you don't need all that. You go to Reddit, or you go to Facebook groups, and you have all that. But I mean, you were studying aviation, so I'd say it's still quite a tech field. So probably, I mean, I'm just thinking right now, is that jumping from something like aviation to a tech would be much easier.
That's absolutely true. In fact, once you master any technical field, regardless what it is, aviation or otherwise, you can easily jump to another technical field because you are going with the same mindset. You're going to use the same neurons, if you like, the same mindset, the same technique, the same approach to things, and you're going to master it again. That's not a big issue. However, I agree, if you are studying English, if you're studying legal, history, art, things like that, that would be much, much harder. Consider also that since I was a kid, I had my computer, I was developing, I was writing my first lines of code in GW Basics, where you have to put numbers before you start your line, number 10, 20, 30, etc. So I had that experience. I also Before aviation, I was at the university in Switzerland. I was studying chemistry, and we had a module, a very important module at the time for us, was computer science. So the module wasn't like the main focus of the studies, indeed. However, we had weekly courses of computing science. So we had to develop, we had to write in C, in C sharp, doing Pascal, working on Sun Microsystems machines at the time. So actually, my first Unix-ish OS was Solaris. I started on Solaris before even connecting one day to Debian or CentOS or things like that. So I started with Solaris. So this is where I started developing and coding and things like that. Then I went to aviation, and then at one point I realized that if I need like plan B, computing can help, and this is where I jumped to tech. You see, they were hiring, and the good thing with tech is a field that is open to anyone who is self-learner. You know, you can learn by yourself. You cannot learn medicine by yourself. Imagine you learn medicine by yourself. Okay, you're good. Probably, maybe imagine you know more than your GP because you spent the last 10 years studying medicine. You cannot just go and like, okay, doctor, and I'm going to open my surgery. It doesn't happen like that. However, computing, you can just learn it, and if you're good, you're good.
Cool. So yeah, and then eventually you end up in UK.
Well, honestly, my first experience, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it wasn't good because I landed in a company called Overland Storage. I can mention it. It was so long ago, and they had a massive turnover. Man, like kind of company where after 3 months you are like one of the oldest serving guys there. You are a dinosaur because everybody you knew when you were hired is already gone. Like you like you land in the company, and this is why they hired me, because this kind of companies, like if you show up and you have one head and you don't smell alcohol, they just hire you because you know they're not interested in any long-term perspective. They hire you, and well, I believe I did a good job because I lasted probably almost 1 year there. Yeah, so I was on the phone. I was supporting tape libraries. Tape is a big thing. Many people, when you tell them tape, they tell you, oh, tape. It sounds like something from the 60s, but honestly, Google it, please, if you don't believe me, or ask ChatGPT. Tape is still a thing, and that tape, they can store amazing amount of data, and is the cheapest way to archive data. It's cheaper than disks, cheaper than cloud, cheaper than everything you can think of.
I remember I was working in probably my first IT company, and we were like a local support engineer on site for multinational companies in their small offices, and they had a few tape storages, and I remember them because they were like super robust and super heavy. They had like a gazillion of tapes there, and you need to change the tapes once in a while. But the device was like massively, it was just massive, and it was really heavy. I do remember them.
Yes, it was. Some of them were as big as a fridge. They were full of tapes, and there were arms that go and pick up the tape, and you had the software, backup software, and yeah, it was complicated to deploy, complicated to support, complicated to use, to be honest. But it was, and it's still the cheapest way to manage these kind of things, to store big amount of data for cheap, and especially people don't sometimes companies don't store data because they just want to, but because sometimes they have to by law. So we had a lot of companies like hospitals and places like that. They must store it for years and years and years. So they're always looking for the cheapest option to store data just to comply with whatever legal obligations they're working under.
Which actually draw us a little bit uh, on the discussion a little bit away from your life path, but very important thing: comply with legal obligations just in a matter of checkbox, rather than actually do it, because there is a reason to do that. Which I think, like, tech to some extent is quite, ahead of everyone in this thing, to comply with, the SOC 2, ISOs, and all these standards, but just for sake of being compliant and put a stamp on a document or on a web page. But then if we look, actually the most compliant companies probably are the ones that getting the most breaches. So I think it's quite interesting thing, right?
It is. It is. It's what we call sometimes the CYA culture in tech, which means, you know what, if you play by the book and you tick all the boxes, and tomorrow there is a breach, you know what, you are covered. Okay, I did my job. Everything was fine. Look, I'm compliant. I can show you everything. I should show you the log. I did everything by the book, so you're fine. However, if you don't tick a box and something happened, you will be the one responsible, and you will be out. You know that. So that's why people are in tech, and I find it really bad, because they're obsessing about tick boxes. They're obsessing about compliance. That nobody wants to be effective, really. Effectiveness is not important. What's important is just tick that bloody box and get moving. And this culture, I feel, it's causing a lot of damage.
So you worked there for 1 year, but then what happened with the company? You just decided to quit, or they tanked?
No, they were honestly, they were always thinking, it just, I felt literally from the first week that it wasn't the place for me. However, I just stayed because I had no option at the time. And what happened about 9 months, 10 months later, I was approached by a recruiter. And I said, look, we found you on LinkedIn, and we believe that you've got the right skill set, whatever, whatsoever. And I moved to another company. That was storage company, but not no longer tapes. Out the tapes, I was doing discs now. I was doing like big system with discs, and I found myself again troubleshooting disk, bad sectors, RAID system, degraded RAID, iSCSI connections, redundant connections that drop, doing dump, looking at TCP file, trying to find IO errors, trying to. And you know what? Some of these issues, man, it can take you 2 weeks just to pinpoint. Oh, that firmware bug. Okay, let's log let's log a bug. So yeah, yeah, I moved to a different company called 3PAR that was later acquired by Hewlett Packard Enterprise. So that's what happened. So I jumped to 3PAR when it was a quite small company at the time, and then it was acquired by HP, and the 3PAR line still exists within HP to this day. So the product was good, uber complicated if you ask me, but still good product.
I also would like to know how it felt being acquired by such, multinational big corporation. Probably it changed because, well, it's like a small company getting eaten by a giant. Things are definitely went into a different direction, and most likely they even started to work in a different way.
Yes, look, I don't like being acquired. And I tell you, the first day when we were acquired, the first day we heard about people leaving the company. The first week, many people left the company because once they hear that they've been acquired, many people they just go resign. And also, when you resign in a context of an acquisition, you can go and invest your options because you have stock options. Maybe they're locked for 4 years, and you can have a bunch of them. And if you resign immediately, you can say, look, I don't accept this acquisition. I just want to take my stock options and leave. And many people just leave immediately. I stayed. And retrospectively, I should have left also because everything changes. You join a company, And join the company by choice, not just by mistake. You join it by choice. You are there, you're happy to be there, and suddenly you get acquired and everything changes. When we were acquired by HP, they came in, well, they gave us new laptops. Okay, you're going to work with different laptop. And then we're going to work with different software. Then we're going to give you a badge. Then we're going to move you to different office. And then you're going to report to different person. And over time, you find yourself doing a completely different job. And that's not something I like, because you don't feel that you're controlling your life. You are being controlled. You are being led. It's going in direction that you don't control. You don't know what they're going to come up with next week. You see. So I went to HP. I spent a few years there, and then I left at one point. And the funny thing, I left for a different company that was acquired again by HP, which means wherever I go, I get acquired by HP. That's why I decided to
I
leave
think when
from
it
there.
comes to storages, like the storage technology, it's on its own is so bloody complicated. And then we throw that the environments are heterogeneous, so you don't have, always the same storage type. And then you need to also think about how to keep your data fast accessible, and also, you need to do it in the cheapest possible way. So you get different tiers and so on. So on its own, the the procedure and the technology is so complicated that you just cannot do it simple, right? If we look at the Amazon AWS, they have their Amazon S3 bucket, which for user is just drop a file, that's it. But what happens on the back end, I'm quite sure it's pretty much complex.
It is complex, and these three power boxes were used mainly for customers who wanted to create their own cloud. So from the perspective of the user, they would receive an S3 compatible storage or bucket. So it's easy. Your application would push data in there, or you drop it yourself, copy and paste, as simple as that. However, the back end was uber complicated, multi-layered, multi-vendors. So when something happens there, it's very hard to troubleshoot, and sometimes you get to involve multiple vendors. So we used to like create ticket at our level at HP, at Hewlett Packard, but at the same time maybe open a ticket with Cisco, open a ticket with Microsoft, open a ticket with, and get multiple vendors involved in order to find where is the issue. And the problem when you have multiple vendors, you know it's not my fault, it's yours. No, it's not, cannot be our system. No. And you have to play this game, and you have customer yelling at you at the same time, because their production is either down or degraded or slow. So yeah, I would tell you that probably the human factor in the equation was more complicated than the technical one. Like, okay, give me the technical stack, I can probably deal with it, but when you add human beings on top of that, it becomes quite unbearable.
Humans sometimes don't want to take the responsibility, and that actually, this story remind me, the well-known meme with Peter Parker as a Spider-Man, and then there are multiple Peter Parkers as a Spider-Mans, and they all like pointing to each other. So yeah, that's pretty much when you need to deal with multiple vendors to troubleshoot one issue. They all stand like this. No, it's you. It's you. No, it's you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it requires a lot of diplomacy. It requires a lot of diplomacy with the other vendors, with the clients, to get them all collaborate or work together to fix whatever trouble we have, because we are talking about multi-million systems that are very critical. It's not archive, because archiving with the tape, imagine you have a company pushing the backups every week. They'll never read them actually. They just push them there. They just want them to be there. So if the tape library is not working, it's not the end of the world. However, when you have, imagine you have a system, storage system that stores bank transactions, which means if the system goes down, you have somewhere out there people with cards that are declined. So that can be serious business. And every minute passing, the stakes are increasing, because the loss is bigger and bigger, and you get people involved up to the CEO sometimes. And then you get a lot of pressure on you, and you have a very complicated issue, very complicated situation. You have to fix it, and fix it fast. and it's not everything. You don't have all the cards in hand, because if the issue is from Microsoft Windows 2008 R2 or whatever, or it's not in your hand. If they didn't update, like, yeah, there is a known bug. Did you install whatever service pack or whatever update? No, we did not. Okay, so this is what we are hating now. You see, it's really hard sometimes to go to the customer and tell them bad news. Look, you're down, and I'm sorry, it's your fault. But they don't want to hear that, because they prefer always to say, oh, this bloody vendor, they sold us this crappy storage system and it's crap. They prefer this rather than, yeah, they told us that we are using a firmware from 5 years ago and it has a known bug and now we are being bitten by it.
Trying to be a devil's advocate here, could you say that customers may blame a vendor and their software because sometimes sellers are selling them a mystery box, or a wonder stick that it just magically works and solves the issues. But when customers starts to going into that world, they already paid a load of money, they realize that there is no voodoo magic. It's a software with its own bugs, inconsistencies. Sometimes it's not even working as the seller convinced them. Could we also say that it might be a reason why customer goes into a defensive position?
Yes, yes, and I don't blame them. I worked in sales. I'm not going to mention names here, but I have seen situations where the sales guy goes to a customer to, like, maybe place a product, and then when they do their POCs, their testing, their dimensioning and whatever, they feel like, we have system for you, and that system costs maybe, let's say, 100K, 100,000 euros. Okay. The customer turns around and say, you know what, my budget is 50. I have only 50. We need to, no matter what, we need to sort this within 50K. So the sales guy, rather than being honest and telling the customer, look, for 50, you are not going to get a solution that works for you. For 50, you are just going into a world of pain. So the salesman may think, you know what, let's take 50. It's better than nothing. We take 50, we pocket it, we're going to take our commission based on 50, and that's it. And you know what? If it doesn't work, call support, okay? So I had situations where I was in support and the customer contacting us. And when I look, I see that the system is maxed out. Everything 100%. Or the disk 100%, CPUs 100%. And when I tell the customer, okay, what were you expecting? Well, I was expecting more from my bucks. I was expecting more capacity, more IO per second, more whatever. Well, look, we're at 100% here. No, you need to escalate it now. Well, I can escalate it, but it's not going to fix the fact that your system is like, like you buy a car, a seven-seater, and then you put seven people in the car, and then you have five others waiting outside, and then you call the Ford or the manufacturer, tell them, look, it's only 7 seats, and my family is 13. I mean, you know, it's there are limits, but I noticed that sometimes salespeople, they just push whatever they can, and then after that, they don't care. And we end up in some companies offering a free upgrade because we lied initially to the customer. So now we're going to offer him a free upgrade, which means he will get his 100K system, but he would have paid 50K for it.
What was your next gig?
So my next gig, I went to a company called Fusion.io. Fusion.io. So Fusion.io, I joined them, very promising, and you know what? I'm going to drop a name, okay? I'm going to drop a name. I'm here. We're here to talk transparently, okay? When they called me, recruiter, internal recruiter, called me, and he said, Do you want to work for Fusion.io? I never heard about them before." And he said, "Look, one of our employee, chief scientist, is Steve Wozniak. Steve Wozniak. Everybody knows Steve Wozniak. He's one of Apple founders with Steve Jobs. And he said, if the company is good for Steve Wozniak, it can be only good for you. Okay. And then I started listening. I thought, okay, maybe they're visionary, maybe this is the next Apple or next whatever. I joined them. They were based in Utah. I went to Utah for training, and well, I found the desk. I found his office. Yes, there was an office there, called with the little, with his title, Steve Wozniak and whatever. There was like a sheet of paper on the desk, a pen, yeah. And I asked people, "Did you see him?" No, no. We just have his office here, but he's officially on the payroll of the company. He shows up when there are like big events, like there's a big announcement when they release a new product in Vegas or whatever, and they call all the journalists. Yes, he's here. But other than that, he doesn't factually work for the company. Okay, even if you put his name in Outlook and search, yes, you will find him. But more than that, there is no he's not there at all. So then the guy who was supposed to train me the first week was fired. I arrived on Monday and he was fired by Friday. And in the United States, how it works, the guy is just, the guy was escorted out, and I came looking for him, and they told me he was escorted out. Escorted? What do you mean? Well, they just fired him, got rid of him, if you will. Okay, so then, okay, he was fired. Fine. Then I was reporting to different guy, and that guy was also fired. And then what happened? Within a few days, I'm telling you, and then within 2 weeks, the founder of the company just left and took with him Steve Wozniak and took with him a bunch of people, the founders of the company, and many people were just leaving. I tell you, at one point, after 4 or 5 months in the company, there were nobody between me and the CEO of the company. I mean, I was in a situation where if I wanted, like, to book holiday, I needed to talk to the CEO. I'm not telling you I did, but theoretically, this is where I was. I was in that situation, and well, I felt like it was about time. It was high time that I leave that company. So then I stayed. I think if you look on my LinkedIn, you see Fusion IO for 6 months. I mean, honestly, it was the funniest period of my career, if we want to say it that way. Well, it wasn't funny at the time. And now I'm laughing of it, but at the time, it was really stressful time because I joined, signed up, and literally from day one, I realized I was in the wrong company. Like, they sent me to Utah for 6 weeks for training. I arrived in Utah, Salt Lake City, to the office. First thing, the lady at the security told me, "Well, who are you? What are you doing here? I don't know. I don't have you in the computer. Nobody told me you're coming, and well, I don't know what to do with you." So
So yeah, it's, and when these kind of things happens in a company, then logically you think that probably it's time to leave, because, well, again, you need to put a foot on the table, and you're not certain that tomorrow you wake up and the company's still there, especially when like one of the founders and key investors are just walking away.
yes, absolutely. And the risk with these companies, indeed, is that they can just close, shut down, by surprise, and you find yourself without a job. And actually, what they were doing, they were trying to sell the company. They were trying to sell the company. And when I would say, if I can give a recommendation, never stay in a company that wants to sell itself, because when they want to sell a company, they're just trying to make it attractive to an investor, and they are not doing they're not trying to be to like improve their performance or try to do a good job or try to do things right. They just try to make things look good on the paper.
And there was a chance that you will be acquired by Hewlett Packard again.
Actually, I left and they were acquired. Honestly, when I left, I gave them just few months to live, and they were acquired by SanDisk, which itself, SanDisk, was later acquired by Western, I think Western Digital. But honestly, look, if I look at it, it's a mystery why Fusion IO was acquired. Because if you look at it, they paid more than 1 billion for them, and their product line doesn't even exist now within SanDisk or portfolio or Western Digital portfolio. And even at the time, it was obvious that the product line didn't stand a chance. The reason being, and anyone in tech can understand that, because Fusion IO started with a hack, something, what? At the time, if you look at the time, we had on motherboards SATA connectors, but we saw disks that were coming in the market. They were SSD based on NAND technology. SSDs, when they came in, were too fast for the SATA connector. SATA connector is slow, and it cannot use the SSD disk at its full potential. So what happened with Fusion IO? They had an idea, which is a hack. They took the NANDs from this SSD, they put them on a circuit board, and they plugged the whole thingy on a PCI Express port, which makes it closer to the CPU. So they had a faster lane to go to the CPU. Provided that it was really fast. And they were selling them very expensive, very expensive. So they had like a good markup because essentially they were just disks mounted on a circuit board. However, they have a lot of drawbacks. For example, you couldn't boot from them. Windows or Linux or whatever couldn't boot from these thingies. So you had to boot on an internal storage, then find the storage. You had to use driver. The driver was big. It was using 32 to 64 gig of RAM at the time, which is a lot. It was using a massive buffer in order to run that thing. And also, the NVMe standard was coming that just negated all this. Because why would you use this hack if you can use the NVMe standard by having exactly the same thing connecting into a dedicated port in the motherboard and have a fast lane to the CPU? So the technology was dying. Yes, it's good. You know, in IT, it's good to have a hack, but the hack is just going for a short while, give you an edge for a few months or maybe a year or two, and then the technology would advance, making your hack just, useless. There is no point from what you're doing. So that's why I was a bit surprised when they were acquired because there was no reason to use that technology.
Maybe they were acquired just to get killed. That's sometimes they're also like, especially big companies, they do the acquisition just to put the company later and their products into the graveyard, and that's it. So that might be the way.
Then I went to Nimble Storage, company called Nimble Storage. They do also storage, much smaller than the 3PAR. 3PAR, we're talking about things that are big as a fridge, while the 3PAR, we're talking about very small format server, 19-inch, but 1 unit, 2 unit, 4 unit. They were quite small, but very powerful, based on very smart algorithm that mixed up, disks with platters and SSD disk used as cache, and they were doing well. They were doing all right. Okay, I spent a few years there, and I think at Nimble Storage I started losing my religion. Okay, I started slowly feeling that I'm staying too long in IT and I don't know what I'm doing there, and my career was stuck. I was just following the flow. I was working hard. I was working. It was still a time where I believed in hard work. I lost that through Nimble Storage. Then we joined. We were acquired again by Hewlett Packard. So honestly, I found myself in the same building. Believe it or not, the same building, the same security guys, the same everybody, the same coffee machine, everything. I was back on that same building, acquired again. Hey, nice to see you. Yeah, I'm coming for a badge. Yeah. Okay, do you have my photo and file, or do you want a new new one?
Always dancing around the storages and that kind of the file and data storage systems. But at some point you decided that enough is enough. I'm going into security, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely. Because I got tired of it. I just wanted to do something else. Because in tech, we know ourselves. You do something, and after a few years, it becomes boring for you. So you just want to be challenged. You want mentally to do something else. Yes, I was good in storage. I knew everything about it, it wasn't using me a lot of internal resources to do that. But at one point, I just wanted to different life. So this is where I started. So it's not easy because, tech support jobs are very sticky, which means once you get there, you are trapped and you cannot just decide to do something else. The good thing is I was exposed to a lot of technologies: cloud, virtualization, operating systems. I connected to different companies. So I had a good idea of architecture. So yes, so it's good in that sense, but it's not easy to move on from that. I That's why I had to do some certifications. I went for Cisco certifications. I did a CCNA first. CCNA, the classic CCNA, RNS, they called it at the time. Then I did a CCNA security. Then I did a CCNP, and I did another CCNP security. So I started developing my skills, especially around the networking, because networking was very important during all my career storage, because we mainly had network connected systems, and most of our performance issues were coming from the network, and it was the hardest to investigate. When you start doing a TCP dump, and you know that your day is not going to be a good day. You know that once you start talking about it. So, I went through that. Then this is where I found a job at Trend Micro.
And that's where we met. So, Trend Micro, I hope it was fun. You worked there as a technical trainer for multiple products, and traveled a lot, actually. I think you had a fair share of travel and also a fair share of the online things. What do you think about transferring from the uh, in person learning to the online learning?
Oh, look, it's really hard. I was torn at the time because it's not easy, because look, when the COVID era arrived and we had to go online doing online training, it came at the time where I was technically fed up from traveling. My little one was growing. I wasn't seeing her. I traveled three times a month. I was always on the go. So honestly, when COVID came in, I took it as a blessing at one point. But the novelty worn off quickly. So at one point, I wanted to see people. I wanted to travel again. I wanted to, because I was just, and I felt like my job and my life were not separated anymore. Because before, when I was at home, it was for my family. When I was out, it was to work. But now everything was mixed up. Everything was merged into one. My wife was also working from home. We had computers all over the place. We had computers in the living room, computers everywhere. So at one point, I felt like my place was an office and I was sleeping in the office. This is how it felt. And also, I started losing faith in tech in particular, and I started losing faith in businesses working for others in general. That's why I slowly started, thinking I need to stop this. I was thinking clearly, now I need to put a date on the calendar. I need to stop. It has to stop at one point.
But it wasn't your only gig, the IT stuff. At some point, you've discovered a journalism. Um, how it was, why you decided to also um, kind of spend your time in the journalism industry. How that started.
So it started a while ago. If we start from Trend Micro, we need to go back probably 10 years before, where I started recording videos in Arabic a while ago, and they exist still online. I was much younger, and I was talking about politics, society, and issues, and it was quite foul method at the time. It was really, really. I hear myself now and I think, Man, you couldn't have said that online. It's just crazy that because I was really, yeah. Well, I mean, my video when I hear it sometimes these old videos like sewer, it's just too much. Well,
But can you judge yourself with today's standards and experience, and can apply it to a younger self? Because back in the days when you started, the the environment was different, right? And the social norms were also different. So is it fair to judge yourself?
no, no, I agree with you. No, I don't judge myself, but and I tell you something, I don't delete these videos. I can go and delete them, but I don't do it because I don't judge myself. And I feel like, okay, you said it, you did it, it's still online, keep it online because that's different self than now. So then I started doing, I opened a channel in French, but I was like more, I would say I was more consensual in my approach to the news, in my approach to the analysis, even if I didn't fear any topic actually. But I was going engaging with people, and this is where I started getting subscribers, getting views. My videos started getting shared, and then my channel, my main channel today, has 180,000 subscribers, which is maybe for an English speaker is not a lot, but consider it's in French, and it's in niche like political analysis. So that's quite big. So I have another channel that has probably 100,000 subscribers. That's about aviation and it's counting. And I have other smaller channels, another one with 50K, etc. So if I sum up all my channels, I would say I'm probably going to 1 million followers if I add everything. Okay. So and I decided at one point, like about 2 years ago, that I need this IT adventure need to stop. It has to stop no matter what.
You've been there for a while already, so you kind of went through from being a baby in the IT to already kind of a mature guy in the IT. So at some point, yeah, it's logical that it comes to an end.
Yes, it logically it has to go to an end. I spent probably 14 years there. Out of these 14, probably 10 years I was overachiever, like working hard, uh, and I ended up with three times burnout. Okay, when I say burnout, it means at the hospital and stuff. And I overworked, and I regret overworking because it doesn't pay off. It doesn't pay off in any company. I mean, they pay you for politics, man. They don't pay you to work until you end up at the hospital. Come on. And now I'm helping many people, honestly, thousands of people. I'm helping them to deal with stress at work. And the other day, I tell you something. The other day, I had someone from HR, okay, in a company. He likes me. He told me, look, very known company, small company, but very known worldwide. Okay, nearly a household name these days. And he told me, you know what? I'm in a computer, in the HR computer now. I see all the salaries, and we're going through them. And we're going through the salaries. He was giving me the salaries on the phone, giving me the names, and telling me, you know what? It's just crazy. There is no relationship between how hard the people work, how long they stay in the office, and how much they make. And if anything, it was quite the opposite. The people who worked harder was less paid. So in the companies, that's why I slowly became kind of what I call myself. It's self-proclaimed, okay, quite quitting advocate.
I know a joke that's probably, as every joke, there's only half of the joke, right? Is that the only thing that with what you get rewarded for a hard work is more work.
Yes, that's true. That's true. The harder you work. So my motto is the company doesn't belong to your father. You are not going to inherit this company. You don't care about where the company is going. So just mind your business, protect your self-interest, protect your health, protect your revenue. Think about yourself, think about your family. Is it the right thing to do? Don't think about the interest of the company. Defend yourself, not the company.
So, quiet quitting, what is that? And why it's important nowadays?
It's important because quiet quitting, the main item in quiet quitting is emotional disengagement. You need to take emotional distance what we are doing. Honestly, for me, I just give you an example of what it means towards the end for me. What's the end of the quiet quitting? Emotion is totally disengaged from work. Like for me, I give you an example of something that annoys me. A little bit, not big, not big, just little annoyance. Yesterday I prepared a tea and I forgot the bag in the tea. Normally I wanted to keep it 3 minutes and 15 minutes later, the bag was still there. The tea was like dark black, too strong. Yeah, annoying, isn't it? Okay. If I'm working for a company and the company loses a big client, let's assume it loses maybe Royal Bank of Scotland as a client or HSBC as a client, it bothers me less than the tea, than forgetting my bag in the tea. Okay? And it's sincere. Just be my guest. You want to lose your biggest client? Be my guest. I'll help you to achieve that. Because before what I used to take it personally. Like I see we have a major client. This client may be accounting for 10% or 20% of our revenue, or even God forbid more. And then we are treating this client as shit. We're mistreating this client. And I see that the guys are not happy. I see that they are leaving us. And I see that there are inept management decisions that are pushing this client to sign with the competition. Years ago, I used to lose my sleep over that, as if the company belonged to my father, as if I'm going to inherit it. Yeah, no. Now I don't care. You want to take bad decisions? Honestly, just do it. I believe in Darwinism, especially in economic Darwinism, and other people, our competitors, have the right to eat also. They have the right to make money. So if you want to help them, just be my guest. Well, I sympathize. I sort of tell you, oh, I'm sorry they left. But it's 100% hypocrite. I'm 100 because I don't care at all. It doesn't mean, very important, the quiet quitter is never going to sabotage you. I'm not going to like sabotage the company from inside. No. I'm not going to do a bad job. No, absolutely not. But there will be strictly no emotion attached to that. There will be also no extra mile. I come on time, I leave on time.
Would you think that's the problem, or that's the vice of a bigger company, a multinational company with a lot of shareholders that always demanding the best results, and then the smaller companies that are, privately owned, they're not big enough, they don't advocate for, we're going to conquer the world and all that stuff. They don't actually have this vice, or it doesn't matter what the company is, and it happens everywhere.
It happens. You have to be careful. It happens everywhere, but it takes different shapes and forms. If you are in small companies, I have many people contacting me. I work for a small company, but they told me day one, we are a big family. Honestly, I tell you something. If I'm in an interview and somebody uses that word, we're a big family, I'll ask him for a glass of water. I drink my water, then I leave. I tell him, okay, I'm going to end up the interview here. Thank you, and I leave. You're not my family, okay? So it's very important. Your company are not your family. They're not your friend. HR are not your friend. Your colleagues are not your friend. Have to be very careful. Mate, I tell you something. I worked how many? I told you, 14 years, 15 years in IT. You know how many colleagues I'm in contact with? You want to know the number? One. You. We are talking together now. You see, one in 15 years. Okay? So that's when you come to the realization of that, you need to understand that you are in a company to defend your own interests, because they're all minding their own interest. The company, as with the big C, as HR like to write it, here's the thing, doesn't exist. It exists on a paper somewhere in administration, company number, limited, or whatever. That's it. People inside companies are minding and fighting for their own survival, their own business. So fight for yours. And before you do whatever, think, what's in it for me? Don't think what's in it for the company. Don't think like I remember one day a while ago I was working in a company, and the financial director came in and he said, just deliver excellence and the reward will find you. Next day we were all fired.
I think you've shared this, but I received this picture from multiple friends of mine. We all giggled and laughed about it, but I think it's actually quite a disastrous and upsetting picture. The one, I think it was from Yes Mobile or Yes something, that they did a survey about the stress of the work, and those who replied that they are experiencing stress there, they got laid off almost like the next day.
Yeah, I saw the picture. Apparently it was a stunt. I'm not sure if it was genuine or not. However, it is believable, and the fact that I don't know if that particular instance is genuine or not, but the fact that it is believable tells you a lot about what's going on in the corporate world now. But I have seen, and I tell you, toxicity costs a lot of money. I have seen people trying, I have seen guys, because I'm contacted by many, many people, okay? Because I give freely my number. I have an iPhone just for that. I give my number in social media, and everybody knows my number. So they contact me through WhatsApp. A guy trying to sign up with a customer, I think it was big potential customer, like 1 million worth or something like that on the table. But because his colleagues hate him, they were trying, they were making sure that he doesn't sign up with this customer. So the company would lose 1 million because his colleagues don't like him. Yeah, that's funny. You see that? Toxicity is not free. Toxicity costs money. So toxic companies are making less money because of that. The more you're toxic, the less money you make.
Can we fix it somehow? Is there a solution for that?
It's really hard to find a solution because I know I come with a problem. I'm just highlighting something, but I know that I'm not bringing a revolutionary solution. Maybe solution is revolution. Maybe we need to change the way we work, the way we interact with each other, the way we manage careers. We need to get out from that system that is not working. The current system is broken. We need to change it. Do we need company that are top heavy? Do we need tick boxes? Do we need managers? Do we need these HR trainings? Do we need that? We need more transparency in the way we manage careers, in the way we share promotions. One of the latest companies I work with, okay, I'm not going to mention name, but one of the latest companies I worked with, I realized that there was promotion in the air. It was shared by HR. They sent an email to everybody, an internal email, telling people, hey, we opened these two positions. If you're interested, contact the hiring manager. These positions were in line with what I wanted at the time. And when I contacted him, I had a chat with him next day on Zoom, and I felt very nervous. He was really nervous, nervous, nervous. What's going on? And I tried to make him talk. And he told me, yeah, both positions were, we hired for the both positions already. And I told him, you hired since yesterday? Because the email came like yesterday afternoon, man. We are like morning. Did you hire, interviewed like in 12 hours? No, the positions were given before. Okay. So basically what happened, they gave the positions in peer-to-peer basis, like to friends, literally, within the company. You see, no transparency at all. And to add insult to the injury, HR get involved to make this thing look legitimate, send an email to everybody, and just to use people to show that, look, we are open and fair, while they're corrupt to the core. You see?
That reminds me that I actually did a quite quitting once, and I quit for the same reason: is that there was an open position that got pretty much filled on the basis of let's promote this guy, and th- the HR never gave a chance to me or my colleague to actually show maybe I'm better at than the other guys, and it would be fair if I would got refused, say like, yeah, we looked at your candidacy, we look at, the others, and we decided to pick, that person instead of you and the others because he standed out and fit a bit more. But it was like a promotion just, behind the scenes.
Yeah. Look, for the burnout, don't expect the company to fix it for you. The burnout, you fix it yourself, which means the burnout, you just work less, find a healthy work-life balance, and that no company is going to find for you, because to do for you. If you work hard, if you like working weekends, working nights, working during your holidays, I don't know any manager who will tell you, hey, stop working. So you need yourself to control that. That's very important. In terms of companies, how can companies tackle that? They can start by more transparency. Transparency for me is key. I was talking to a military guy in the French military, and he told me they have what they call career point. Career point. This point, you acquire them, how long you served, training you did, missions you participated to. You get an account with points. This point, they can help you to buy promotion. You see, that we are in a situation where it's very hard to cheat. While today, in most companies, look, if I work in, let's imagine we work both at BMW. I cannot give you BMW. I cannot give you a car and tell you, look, you're my friend. I like you. Here we go. Take this BMW. Take it. Drive it. It's yours. I can't do that. However, if I like you and I'm in position higher in hierarchy to decide, I can tell you, you know what? I'm going to give you promotion, okay? And it's just for you. Don't tell anyone. We're going to create this position. We're going to email everybody. We're going to publish it on LinkedIn, but it's for you, okay? Don't tell anyone. This promotion, probably in terms of value, is more expensive than the BMW itself. But I can give it to you without any oversight, without any control. Because in companies, you are promoted because somebody said so, and you are not promoted because somebody said so, which becomes a kind of money exchange. I have lady sending me a message on WhatsApp. She's very Instagrammable, okay? If you see what I mean, okay? And she's telling me I have my director chasing me, sending me on my personal phone messages at 11 p.m. I'm in my bed, telling me, hey, there's promotion. Do you want it? I'm sure you want it. I'm sure. He's pushing her to get the promotion, while other people have been serving probably for years, and then they apply and they tell them, you know what, you go to the portal and you fill a form, okay? You fill it on the form.
So what's your current gig? What are you currently working on?
So what I'm doing now, I'm doing many things at the same time. I have social media. I have large social media presence, so I work there. It's a work. It's a work, even if I enjoy it, but still it's a work. I create content. So before this interview, I recorded two videos already. I will publish them probably one later today, one tomorrow, and I have books selling on Amazon. Probably have I don't know, probably 12 or 13 books. I wrote four just this year, including two who went like top of their category in Amazon for a while. Okay, so I write a lot every day. Every day I have to write, and I'm doing some consulting gigs with startups, trying to build a proper business model, trying to like develop a value proposition that holds water, trying to find gaps in the market, trying to find investors, things like that. But that's really side gig. But my core of my business now is the YouTube and also the books writing.
What are your books about? Could you tell us about them?
So there are many books. One of the political, highly controversial. Some of them are so controversial that I'm not going even to mention the title in this podcast because we want to stay out of politics. But it's very political because I know politicians in France. I know a lot of people there. I'm introduced in some circles, and I write books about controversial topics in French politics, but not always. Like the book I'm writing now, I'm writing a book in my bed here. There is a tablet and a keyboard. I'm writing a book about how to fight depression. And the title would be something like To Finish with Depression. Okay. And I'm tackling some aspect that I felt were not enough tackled by existing literature. So I'm trying to create a book for people who want to read about it because they need either self support or they need to support a friend or family member in that situation. And I'm giving them maybe some other perspectives, especially being African, okay? Because I can give, culturally speaking, I can give maybe different view that may talk to Westerner, okay? Because there are some universal lessons sometimes. So that's what I'm doing right now at the moment.
Cool, cool. That's awesome, and definitely I'm going to place some links to your work, so you also get the attribution, because I'm pretty sure some of the listeners and viewers would love to actually uh, to look for more that you provide. No, that's awesome. Okay, you're a busy bee. You know, you're doing a lot of stuff. How do you relax? How you how you let go everything, and what are your hobbies aside from the thing that brings you money?
So yeah, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to mix work and relaxation at the same time. Like now, I'm writing a book about depression. And when I want people to read this book, I want them to feel peace. I want them to find resources that make them feel better. I want them to read a few pages before they sleep and feel better. And they may thank me later, saying, "Oh, you know what? I read your book, and it was part of my journey out of the mental situation I was in. So I need to put myself in relaxed posture because you cannot fake these things. That's why I'm here in a ship, in a cruising ship. And yesterday I spent the day here writing, and I was seeing the sea passing by in the balcony, and there is an atmosphere here that is naturally relaxing, and I'm stress free. My family is not here. My wife is taking care of the little one. Nobody is bothering me. I lost even internet for a while. So disconnected, totally disconnected. My food will be ready at one point, and I go if I want. Like there is now, it's 12 o'clock, but I don't want to go food because I just had breakfast and I had big breakfast, so I don't want to eat at 12. I have a table that is reserved whenever I go or not. There's a restaurant with a table, and it's just for me. So if I go, I go. If I don't go, that's fine. That's okay. Which means it removes all the stress, all the worries, life, day to day worries from my life. So I can just focus on writing. But you see, I'm mixing both. I'm mixing both. Leisure, that is fun. I'm here in Rotterdam. Maybe later I go out in town, go to see, probably they have Christmas market, buy a couple of gifts for my family. Okay. But mixing both. I think that's the best way to do it.
Mhm. Oh, that's a good advice. Yeah. But if you would meet yourself 20 years ago, would you give yourself any kind of advice on life, career, or aside from buying bitcoins?
Yeah, yeah. Aside from bitcoins, okay, I would tell myself just buy bitcoins, buy them for 1p, buy as much as you can. You will be billionaire. Okay. but but honestly, I'm not desperate about that because imagine if I bought bitcoins for $1 each, knowing myself, I would have sold them for $12, thinking I'm doing a good deal. It's just like that, you know. I know a friend of mine who bought bitcoins for $100. He got an inheritance. He bought a lot of them, and he sold them later for $1,000. And he told me, "Look, I made a big fortune." If you want to be a billionaire, you need to enter at $1 and leave maybe now or even in 10 years' time. I don't know. But yes, probably if I go back in time, I would have skipped all this idea of going through IT career, tech career. I would have just removed that part from my life. I would probably have continued as an entrepreneur, and I would have, maybe if times were harder at one point, I would have gone through this hardship or this hard time, and probably I would have survived, and I would have been today maybe even in a better position. But it's okay. Life is like that, and we have to take the best from everything we do.
Would you double down on the journalism?
No, the journalism. Look, yes, you saw sometimes on my LinkedIn the journalist title. I removed it. You know why I removed it? Because I travel a lot, and I realized that in some countries, having journalists in your LinkedIn doesn't fly very well. You can get into troubles because of that. So even if I have my journalism card, I would rather, if somebody tell, "Are you a journalist?" No, I'm not. No, no, I'm not a journalist. Especially in which country you are. Okay, so but yes, I would have doubled down on that indeed.
That I mean, probably if you would go in tech, you would have more time to actually spend on the authoring and that journalism thingy. Windows versus Mac OS.
Windows immediately. Windows.
So you're a Windows guy.
I'm Windows guys. I feel illiterate on Mac OS. When my wife asks me for help with her Mac OS, I go to the terminal and I do everything from the command line.
So you're an author and you're writing your books as well as you're writing different articles. Probably you're also reading them. So what would you prefer, a fiction book or a non-fiction book?
Non-fiction, because these days the world is so crazy that non-fiction goes beyond fiction. Actually, the fiction may sound more realistic than the non-fiction these days.
Oh yeah, especially if we look at 1984, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much a lot of things actually implemented nowadays. Or yeah, that's true. But still, even though you prefer you're writing yourself, would you take movie or a book?
A book, definitely a book.
And even if you are going to read this book for a month rather than watching a movie for 1 hour and you are limited on time, you'd still prefer a month worth of reading?
Yes, I prefer. Look, I have a Kindle here with probably 200 books. I took it with me. I have a TV here. I never started it. So the TV is just shut down. I never start. There are movies in there. I just didn't look. There is projection room here. There's kind of cinema, and I receive in the daily program that they tell us, yeah, we have this movie projection. I never I never go there. I may go at one point, but no, I lost the taste of watching TV and cinema. Once you don't do it for a while, you just lose the taste of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if we consider that a lot of movies and series right now is a total disaster, then probably yeah, it's a lot better to read the good old books.
And to be honest with you, when if you look, I have a tablet here somewhere with some movies, but the most recent one is from 1980. They're old movies, classics. They're good to watch. But the Netflix movies and things kind of things now.
Smartwatch versus a regular watch.
Look, I have smartwatch. So yes, it's when I started I didn't believe in smartwatches, but yeah, I especially my problem is one thing I'm not satisfied with in my life as entrepreneur, okay, is that I don't move enough. I don't move enough. Honestly, that's the problem. And it can even cause to me and to anyone having this kind of lifestyle, it can cause health issues in the long run. Okay. With the back, building up weight, this kind of thing. So, smartwatch keeps me kind of accountable because I see how much I did and I look at it before sleeping and I feel guilty and I promise to myself that tomorrow I will do better. So, that's why I have a smartwatch.
Sure. And the last but not least, and it's kind of controversial, an EV or internal combustion engine.
Look, internal combustion engine all the way. There is nothing better than the sound of a V8 going to the red line. I drive at home. I have BMW. I like German cars. Okay, my BMW is hybrid, to be honest. So it has this kind of, electric thingy, but yes, but I prefer internal combustion engines.
Cool. Thank you so much. And if folks are being looking for you, where they can find you or maybe contact you?
They can. I mean, Mecifi through LinkedIn is I'm present there. I'm present there every day. Aldo Sterone. They can look for my work. They can find it on Amazon. They can find me online. I on my Twitter. On my Twitter, there's my bio. There's my phone number, my WhatsApp. They can send me messages any time of the day and night, and I will be. I respond to thousands of messages every month. I don't respond to everybody. I can't physically. I would need to hire people to do that, but I respond to a lot of people.
Thanks. Thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, good luck in your cruise.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. We're here until the end of the day. Then we'll be moving at one point. Thank you.